America's arsenal of freedom is running hot. Patriots worth millions are chasing drones cheaper than pickup trucks. So now the Pentagon wants 10,000 bargain missiles hidden inside shipping containers. This isn't just a weapons program, it's a race to survive a war of mass production. But can cheap firepower win modern war? The United States Department of Defense is preparing a major expansion of America's missile arsenal, unveiling plans to potentially acquire more than 10,000 low-cost cruise missiles, as the ongoing war with Iran puts mounting pressure on US weapons stockpiles. According to a Pentagon statement obtained by Reuters ahead of its release on May 13th, framework agreements have been signed with Anduril Industries, CoAspire, Leidos, and Zone 5 technologies under a new initiative called the Low-Cost Containerized Munitions Program. The effort is designed to mass-produce containerized cruise missiles that can be launched from standard shipping containers, a mobile and lower-cost alternative to traditional missile systems. The Pentagon said testing of missiles from all four companies will begin in June 2026, with potential production contracts starting in 2027. At the same time, the Defense Department is separately planning to scale up purchases of hypersonic missiles from defense startup Castelion. Under the proposal, the Pentagon would seek congressional approval to purchase more than 12,000 Blackbeard hypersonic missiles over 5 years, with a minimum annual buy of 500 missiles once testing is completed. Michael Duffey, the Pentagon's top weapons buyer, said the agreements reflect a broader shift away from relying only on traditional defense giants.
Today's announcement is the latest sign that our acquisition transformation strategy is delivering on its promise to rebuild the arsenal of freedom. We are moving beyond the traditional prime contractors to expand our industrial base, accelerating testing timelines, and sending a clear long-term demand signal to innovative new entrants.
On May 13th, a Pentagon official speaking to military.com said the goal is not to replace high-end missiles like the Tomahawk, but to create a larger, cheaper inventory that can absorb the demands of modern warfare.
The LCCM program brings in non-traditional commercial innovators to rapidly expand the department's lethal strike capacity. The department is using the LCCM program to build a diverse portfolio of cost-effective, high-low mix of strike options that complement existing exquisite systems like TLAM.
A Defense Department official told military.com the new missiles are intended to provide a high-low mix of strike options while preserving more advanced weapons for harder targets. Emil Michael emphasized speed and scale.
We will deliver affordable mass for our warfighters at unprecedented speed.
The urgency comes as the war with Iran continues to consume large numbers of interceptors, cruise missiles, and precision-guided munitions across the Middle East. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane told Congress this week that the Pentagon's 2027 budget request includes more than $26 billion for multi-year procurement contracts covering critical munitions. Defense analysts say the move signals a broader transformation in US military planning, one increasingly focused on mass production, cheaper strike systems, and sustaining long-duration conflicts against heavily armed adversaries. A classified CIA assessment concluded that Iran remains far more resilient, militarily and economically, than publicly acknowledged by Washington and Israel, despite months of US-led pressure and strikes. According to a report by The Washington Post, citing 4 sources familiar with the classified document, US intelligence believes Tehran still retains roughly 70% of its missile stockpile and about 75% of its missile launchers, contradicting repeated claims that Iran's arsenal had been largely neutralized. But the Post wrote that the CIA's internal assessment paints a far more cautious picture. According to the newspaper, intelligence officials believe Iran could survive a US naval blockade for at least 90 to 120 days before facing severe economic pressure, and possibly even longer. One source familiar with the assessment told the Post,
"For the economic consequences for Iran to become severe, the blockade would have to last at least 90 to 120 days, and possibly longer. One of Iran's solutions to the lack of storage space is filling oil tankers stuck in the Persian Gulf, amid the crisis around the Strait of Hormuz, which had until now been empty."
Another source said Iran had already adapted to mounting pressure in the Persian Gulf. Speaking to the Post, the source said,
"Iran has also reduced the pace of pumping from its oil wells to ensure they continue functioning. It is nowhere near as dire as some have claimed."
The report added that Iran is using oil tankers stranded in the Persian Gulf as temporary floating storage while navigating the Strait of Hormuz crisis. But even an economic collapse would not necessarily lead the regime to compromise in the talks. One US source told the Post that he believes Iran's ability to withstand prolonged economic hardship is far greater than the CIA assessment indicated.
The leadership has become more radical and more confident in its ability to outlast US political will, as well as in its ability to continue domestic repression to thwart any opposition. For comparison, similar regimes can be seen surviving for years under prolonged embargoes and wars based solely on air power.
The CIA assessment also reportedly found that Iran had reopened almost all underground missile storage facilities damaged by US and Israeli strikes. Sources told the Post that Tehran had even resumed assembling missiles that were near completion before the war. One US source cited by the newspaper warned,
"The timeline has shortened for Iran to resume producing ballistic missiles in significant quantities."
Energy analytics firm CoAspire separately told the New York Times this week that Iran may have between 25 and 30 days before it exhausts available oil storage capacity. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi rejected both US military pressure and the CIA estimates.
Every time a diplomatic solution is on the table, the US opts for a reckless military adventure. Whatever the cause is, the outcome is the same. Iranians never bow to pressure.
Araghchi also directly mocked the reported CIA figures.
"The CIA is wrong. Our missile inventory and launcher capacity are not at 75% compared to February 28th. The correct figure is 120%. As for our readiness to defend our people, 1,000%.
As Washington and Tel Aviv project confidence, the reported CIA assessment suggests the confrontation with Tehran may be far from decisive and potentially far longer than anticipated.